Hey everyone, I'm Brian Parks, and in this video I want to talk about third-party reporting using Power BI and Tableau in Cherwell Service Management. So this is a feature that was introduced a few versions back. I forget exactly what version it was introduced in, but basically the idea is that you can use Power BI or Tableau and pull data from your CSM instance. There are a couple of reasons you might want to do this. One is if you're already using Tableau or Power BI for dashboards for visibility from other departments within your organization, and you just want to add some CSM data to them. Or you might want to expose this information through some way other than using a dashboard within CSM, either for people you don't want to have to go to the portal just to see this data, or maybe you're building it into some other dashboard that people already have access to, inside SharePoint or something like that. You might want to embed it in a tool they're already using. Power BI and Tableau might be good options for that. My preference, or just from the brief time that I've been using both of these tools, just to build this demo, Power BI seems to be a little more user friendly. So if you're not using either of these tools, Power BI might be a little more accessible to you. But if you're already using Tableau, obviously keep using Tableau. You can do that. If you're already using Power BI, that's great. You can keep using Power BI as well. So yeah, with that, most of this is going to be a demo, so let's get right into it. So this is actually pretty well documented on Cherwell's help portal. It's this page, using search data with third-party reporting tools. I think to find this, I just searched for Power BI or Tableau or something like that. And in this demo, I'm going to be using the free versions of both of those tools. From what I can gather, Power BI, their desktop tool is free to use, so you can do everything locally. But if you want to publish it, you have to pay. If I'm wrong about that, go ahead and correct me in the comments. But judging from what I've read, I think that's essentially what it is. Tableau, on the other hand, this help page mentions Tableau Desktop. There's something called Tableau Public, which is free, which I didn't dig too deeply into, but it does look like it makes you save things in the cloud. Another, in my opinion, knock against Tableau. I really like to be able to save things locally. But if you're interested in one or the other, definitely go check out their information. I'll leave the links to their websites in the description below so you can find out more information about that. But these instructions basically show you how to set up Power BI and Tableau. Power BI has a little bit more setup. Tableau is pretty much plug and play. You just plug in this URL and you're good to go. But I'm actually going to go through these instructions slightly out of order just to show kind of why, especially with the Power BI, why one of those instructions is what it is and what it'll look like if you forget to go through that instruction. Then there's also a slight gotcha when it comes to Power BI. I'll go through that as well. So stay tuned till the end and we'll get into it. So first, what you'll need to do is make sure that you have a REST API key set up. First, you definitely need your REST API installed, which if you're on a later version, a more recent version of Cherwell, you already have the REST API installed because it's required for login to the browser client and portal. But you'll go down to security and security settings. Again, this is an admin. Sorry, not security settings, REST API client settings. Make sure that under the REST API URL, make sure that is correct. Something that you can actually get to. In my case, I'm running on my local machine, which is named Tolstoy. I think I explained in an earlier video that all of my computers are named after authors. This one happens to be Tolstoy. I am not running HTTPS. In production, you should definitely be running HTTPS, but on my local machine, I don't have an SSL certificate installed, so all of my URLs will be HTTP. Just keep in mind that all of yours should be HTTPS. So that's set correctly. This URL goes to the base of my REST API. And then I have a REST API client key set up. So I have one that I set up a while back. It's called test, and I'll need this client key. So I'm actually going to leave this screen open for now. The first thing I'm going to do is go into the CSM desktop client. You can also do this from the browser client. The option in the menu is named slightly differently, but it's basically the same thing. I'm going to go to searching and then click install Power BI data connector. In the browser client, it's called download Power BI data connector, because from the browser client, the connector itself can't actually be installed to the correct location, but clicking this button, it will. So if you have the desktop client, that's definitely the easiest way to go. If you only have access to the browser client, definitely check out that help link that I showed at the beginning, which I'll leave linked in the description below as well, and follow those instructions. Basically, the thing you download has to go in a very specific directory. So I'm going to click Install Power BI Data Connector, and you'll see successfully installed to, and this path. So it's in Documents. There's a folder called Power BI Desktop, Custom Connectors, and then it's installed there. And if you have Power BI open at this point, you do need to restart it in order to use it. I don't have it running right now, but let's go ahead and start it up. And this is the piece that I'm doing out of order from the instructions on the help document. So I'm going to start up Power BI Desktop, and we'll get a warning that pops up once the software loads. Uncertified connectors. This is the warning that we get if you don't follow the instructions step by step. Basically, what we have to do is say that we allow connectors that haven't been certified through Microsoft's certified connector program. So what we have to do is change a setting in the options dialog and then restart Power BI. So I'll click OK, go over to the File tab, Options and Settings, go to Options, and then Security, and under Data Extensions, change from recommended to, unfortunately, not recommended. Allow any extension to load without validation or warning. Click OK. Yes, it requires a restart of Power BI, so we'll close out of Power BI and reopen it. And now it loads without giving us that warning. So now what we can do is we have a blank slate for our Power BI report. I'm not sure what these are called, but we can go to Get Data and More. And in a minute, we'll get all of our options here, and we'll have one for Cherwell, and I forget exactly what it's called. I think it's under Other. Cherwell Data Connector. There we go. So we'll click Connect, and at this point, it gives us a warning. We'll say Continue. It'll ask us for two pieces of information. One is the URL, and one is the client ID. This URL is the URL of the search that you want to perform. So for this demo, what I'll use is, I'll just pick a search here. Let's say all incidents within past year. So I'll right click on that, and then click Copy API URL to Clipboard. I believe that's also available through the menu here. Yeah, so under Searches, Copy API URL to Clipboard. So either way, click Copy API URL to Clipboard. That's the URL specifically for that search. And it's very important that you set your REST API URL in admin before you click that button, because it uses that REST API value to construct the URL in the desktop client here. So that's the URL. That's the value for URL. So we'll paste that in there. Just using Control-V to paste. And then the client ID we're going to pull from admin. So remember I said I'm going to leave this screen open. We're going to copy that client ID, go back here, and paste that client ID into this box. We'll click OK. And now we get the query editor. And this is where we can kind of see what data is coming back and manipulate it as we need to actually use it in our report. And this is the gotcha that I mentioned earlier. This here, it doesn't look like much. It looks like a list of records. Well, what is a record? We can drill down into that and see exactly what it shows. And from what I can tell, this is what happens when you import JSON data, which is what the Cherwell REST API returns. So I actually don't want that navigation step in there. But what I do want is to transform to table. Basically take this list of records and convert it to a table. That's step one. So the defaults are fine. We'll do that. Now, instead of a list of records, we have a column of records. It's still not quite what we want, but we can click this, I think it's Split Columns button. We'll get a tooltip here in a second. I'm pretty sure it's Split Columns. Apparently we don't get a tooltip. So I'm going to click that and uncheck this box, use original column name as prefix. If you leave that checked, you get column names of the form column1.type, column1.assign name. It's kind of ugly. I just want type, assign name, ID, and so on. So let's say OK. Select, we have all selected, that's fine. Select all. And now we get a table that looks a little more reasonable. So here we have a bunch of incidents. These are, aside from a couple that I added, these are mostly the out-of-the-box demo content incidents. So all incidents, we've got some teams, got some IDs, customer name, status, that sort of thing. That works well for a query. So then we'll click Close and Apply. And then you'll see it show up on this right side here in Fields in just a second. And once that loads, we'll be able to build our report. So it is taking a few seconds because it is going out and pulling that data, doing the transforms we defined on it, and kind of caching it. So it notices that we haven't signed in. So let's actually click that, and we'll get the sign-in dialog, the authentication dialog, and we'll sign in with our username and password. Hopefully I typed that right. Signed in, connect, and now it's able to get the data. "33 rows loaded, everything looks good. We've got some stuff here. So let's pick some columns that we want to show on our report. Let's build a pie graph, really simple, just to show the kind of the split of incidents and what statuses they're in. So let's do status and ID, and we'll make it pie graph. Now let's move things around so that it actually does the right thing. And there we go. So we have statuses as our buckets and the count of IDs as our values. And we can see that we have 9 incidents in the pending status and 8 in closed, and so on and so forth. So that's basically it. And at this point, you can save it, you can publish it, you can do whatever you want to. You can build more widgets and queries, and I guess they call them visualizations. But that's basically it in Power BI. Now let's go over to Tableau and see how we can do that. To start out with, I'm going to go back to the help here because I do want to grab this URL here. And notice that it has HTTPS. Again, mine is running HTTP, so I'm just going to copy this part right here, copy that, and now go over to Tableau. And you can see I've already tested this out and basically built the exact same report as we did in Power BI. But what I'll do is do connect to a server and more. And obviously it knows that I've done a web data connector before, but if you don't have this option, you'll go to more and then click web data connector. The web data connector URL is what we copied from that help page with the name of your server. In my case, I'm going to do localhost and then that API link, Cherwell API Data Connector Tableau, and we'll click, I think we just hit enter here. Yep. And now this page is a little bit different from what we saw in Power BI, but it's basically asking for the same information. Username, password, client ID, let's go grab that from admin again. And the API URL, again, is the URL of the search. So let's go back to the desktop client and copy API URL to clipboard. And then we'll click authenticate. And in just a minute, it should come back and say, yep, we've got information, we've got a query. Now, Tableau is a little bit smarter than Power BI about retrieving the results and kind of decomposing them into a table that we can use. So we've got type, assigned team, ID, all the same stuff that we want. Let's click update now and get some data. All right, so now we have some data and we can go to worksheet. So let's go to the sheet, and what we can do is drag, what do? We want status and ID. There we go. And now we don't want the sum. Sum of ID doesn't make any sense. We do want the count. And now we can switch that to a pie chart. And there we go. And now I am not a Tableau whiz. It took me way too long to figure out how to do this compared to what I was expecting. But you do get a legend over here. I don't know why it's still showing sum of ID over here. I guess you could hide that. And you could probably do more customizations to this and make it look fancy. But that's basically the same thing. We should see very similar results here and here. Maybe pieces are in slightly different places. You know, it looks like on this one, closed is here, whereas closed is probably here. Yeah, closed is here, pending's over here. So slightly different positions, but it's the same data showing the same thing from the same search in both Tableau and Power BI. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's jump back to the slides. And that's basically it for this video. So you've got Power BI, you've got Tableau. Both can pull data from the CSM REST API with that little bit of information from both the desktop client to get the API URL and the admin tool to get that client ID. You log in using a user that has access to whatever data you need to get access to. In my case, I used CSD admin just to make things super simple, and because I don't want to fight with permissions for these demos. But obviously, you know, you've got your own users. If that user has access to that data, all of this search should work, and the Power BI and Tableau stuff should work as expected. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Go ahead, click that thumbs up, give it a like. If you have questions or comments or things I could have done better with Power BI or Tableau, leave a comment below. Again, I'm not an expert in either tool. I think they're cool, but I have only used them long enough to be able to do this demo for you. And share this with your friends and colleagues, and be sure to subscribe to catch upcoming videos. More stuff like this, some more conceptual stuff. There's a variety of content on this channel. And of course, you can go ahead and check out the last several months of history and anything I've done since then that's out there before you get a chance to watch this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.